software. I will start with introducing myself. So I am a business development manager within Flink Automation. We are a services and solutions provider in the field of automation and RPA. We help our clients automate their business processes, and within that function, I try to assist our clients as much as possible in finding the right solution for their issues. Boraida, up to you.
Thank you, George. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. So my name is Boraida Marabet. I joined Automation Anywhere earlier this year as a partner account manager. I have a huge experience around financial process automation, mainly around the procure to pay, order to cash, and have been working over the last 7 years for some industry leaders in RPA and intelligent document processing space, like ReadSoft, Kofax, and Windshuttle. Today, my role in this call is to share with you the Automation Anywhere vision and our value proposition for the finance department with a focus on order to cash. Thank you.
Okay, Christophe.
Yes, I'm Christophe Legland. I'm joined Automation Anywhere more than 1.5 years. I have quite a good background in automation because I was working 15 years in testing automation, functional testing and load testing. And I'm in charge of the partner enablement for South Europe and Belgium and Luxembourg.
Okay, thank you. So for today, we have a pretty packed agenda, both with information of Automation Anywhere regarding the order to cash process, as well as some more service-oriented advice from us, like things that we learned from our customers, things that our customers learned from us, and also how to start the RPA journey. But before we get into that, we'd like to try something new today to get some interaction going in our webinars in an easy and friendly environment. And we're gonna try that through the use of a tool called Mentimeter. So if everyone would like to take their cell phones and then type in Mentimeter in their browser, the screen that will pop up is the one that you can actually see on the slide in front of you. And then you can use the code, and I'm just going to check if it's still correct. Yes, it's 105570. And then you can join our voting system, and then we will have some questions that we will ask you, and we will see what the results of those questions are. I'm going to share the other screen now. I already see that we have some people, there we go, that have clicked, or at least one person. So to ease into this, I asked the question, what is your job title? Just to get a little bit of an easy question going before we get into the more advanced questions with regards to automation. So obviously people from the finance field who have joined us thanks to Ufinity. I also see some internal functions that I see from our own department, some RPA consultants, some team leaders. So this is a pretty broad field, of course. There's a lot of titles going around within the field of finance, of course. But yeah, interesting to see that it's mostly indeed finance managers, finance consultants. Business analyst is also a very interesting title for us, one that we see more often as of late when we work with our clients. Okay, good. I will close this poll for now. But yeah, interesting to see the results. Very spread out, of course. There we go. That's a nice field to start with. Now, more of a topical question. So this one should pop up on your screen now, is what comes to mind when you hear automation? And you can have two answers for this question. So I'm very curious to see what you think when you hear automation. I will give you some time to answer this one. Speed, indeed, processing speed. AI, that's also interesting, very topical topic, of course. Repetitive tasks, yes, that's a good one indeed in the field of RPA, of course. So still spread out, very spread out. I do see often, of course, speed, faster. Just for your information, the words that are repeated by people will become bigger. So it's still interesting to see that it's very diverse of what people think when they hear automation. So it's good that we included also intelligent automation in the title, because again, I see that artificial intelligence is a topic that is on people's mind here as well. I also see the word intelligence actually standing here. So very interesting to see. Okay, so this is a bit of an introduction of the Mentimeter concept. We will come back to it later in the presentation as well, but it's good to see that it's working fluently and that it causes indeed for a lot of interaction in the webinar. So that's nice to see. I will now go back to our presentation. There we go. So as I already mentioned, for the agenda for today, first of all, I will leave the word in a minute or two to our colleagues of Automation Anywhere, where they will introduce a bit what they do and what their software does. And also they will focus a bit on the complete picture of automation, not only the RPA part, also a bit the intelligent part and making end-to-end processes efficient through automation. Then we will move on to the automation of the order to cash process, which is at least I think a very interesting part of this webinar, because we will really hands-on see how RPA can automate an order to cash process. Then moving on from Automation Anywhere to Flink Automation, well, we will briefly introduce ourselves and how we think we can give value to our clients. And we will focus on some lessons learned from us, but also from one of our clients, to give you a bit of a perspective from both sides. And then moving on from the lessons learned, we will give you a bit of an introduction of how to start automation, because often with our clients, you see that a huge barrier to entry is how do you actually start with RPA or with automation. So I think it's very interesting to put some time into this topic. So now for the Automation Anywhere part, I will leave the word to Boraida, and also will let him share his screen so he doesn't have to continuously say next slide, please, Joris. So there you go, Boraida, up to you.
Thank you, Joris. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Good. So briefly, we'll be introducing Automation Anywhere. So Automation Anywhere is an American company founded in 2003 in San Jose, California. Automation Anywhere became a pioneer in the field of robotic process automation space. And we have received the recognition from all the analysts industry. So as you can see here, Forrester, Gartner, Everest, etc. We have also received recognition in the intelligent document processing space. As of today, we have more than 4,000 customers across the globe. We have offices in more than 40 countries, more than 90 countries. our customer, and we have around 1,000 partners serving our customer. We are recognized as the first employer of the digital worker in the world, same like Uber or Airbnb. So we have deployed more than 1,800,000 digital workers across the globe. So this is the typical IT system in any enterprise company today. Automation Anywhere as a company are trying to solve a business problem, because today, if you look at an enterprise company, you will find some IT system in the front office, like Salesforce, Dynamics, Marketo, Zendesk. You also have some IT system in the back office, Workday, Oracle, SAP, which are designed to increase business efficiency. However, the front office, those systems were designed to increase customer satisfaction, and you will have some employees productivity tools to increase productivity of employees using their workflow. So we as a company are trying to solve this problem, because as of today, even you have a different kind of technology, different kind of automation, the statement being is that 80% or major part of the business process is still manual. Why? This is the reason, because all these IT systems were not designed to communicate with each other. They are not, they do not communicate out of the box. So we have siloed in the IT system in all the company. And for some large company, you may have up to 1,000 different apps. So the answer is today to bridge the gap using the human workforce, which will be copying data from one application to another, extract data from one application, import another application, which is very boring, very mundane task, and there's a lot of loss of productivity and really a loss of job satisfaction. So the answer to that is Automation Anywhere, which will break the gap between the front office, the back office, and the employee productivity using one unique and single end-to-end automation digital platform. So this end-to-end automation solution, like AI, will break down these silos between the front office, back office, and you can get started with a small part and then grow up as this platform will enable you to automate an end-to-end process. So this is what we believe at Automation Anywhere. To be a digital enterprise, you need, of course, digitized processes, but also we believe that human and bot can work side by side, and then amazing thing can happen, because the human core attributes are more creativity, connecting dots, building strong relationship, having empathy, compassion for others, and this manifests in driving some strong customer engagement, identify new opportunity, business opportunity, new sales opportunity, and then of course the people are more satisfied with their work because they are working in meaningful things versus demanded. However, the digital worker or the bot, as we call it today, their core attributes are more both are intelligent, are speed, faster, like you said previously, using AI technology to learn, improve over time, and they use also analytics to ensure that they are doing well their work. They are doing their work effectively. So the skills are switched to tackling any repetitive and mundane task. And of course, as you may know, the digital worker never gets tired and can work 24/7, connecting different apps between together and get lower cost operation. This is also one of the benefits of using the digital workforce. And this is the automation anywhere vision, to combine digital workforce with the human workforce, to have great efficiency, reduce also the error rate and rework when the human is doing repetitive and mundane tasks. So this is the digital and automation anywhere digital workforce, which is required for every digital enterprise. Now, let me use a common critical business case, which is the code to cash, which is all the focus of today's webinar, to illustrate some challenge you may face today in delivering your product or services. So first, if you see my screen, you have different swim line. And for each swim line, you have dedicated team managing or are responsible for moving one part of the swim line. You have also, as you can see here, a specialized app. They can be a third-party app like Adobe, Salesforce. They can be a cloud apps, SaaS apps, on-premise, or sometimes custom apps, in-house apps. The challenge we face is that many, if not most, that's critical business like this one do not make the end-to-end successfully, what some companies call a happy pass, because they are placed in the process, especially when we need to transfer information from one app to another one to the next one. We need human intervention is required. You can see here in the screen to move along. And along the way, we experience errors, of course, that require going back to fix, or sometimes that require some rework. And every error correction, rework could take days to fix. And this, of course, slow down the process, and sometimes the process can take up to 30 days, which is a lot to deliver your product to your customers. And especially in the current time with the coronavirus and the economic crisis, you need to serve your customer very quickly and fidelize your customer. So now the question, what if we could simplify the complex process into a simplified, automated, and the faster one? By using RPA, robotic process automation, which will bring you with the value proposition to automate your processing by placing bots instead of human. This is the value proposition. We place bots side by side with your existing people, and this bot will take over any repetitive mundane tasks that are prone error and rework. And then you can reduce the time of delivering your product, of processing this business process from 30 to only 5 days, which is amazing. So you can imagine the saving in times and in costs, and also get your customer satisfied. So this can happen using the automation anywhere digital workforce. So what is the automation anywhere digital workforce? Our platform is a combination of 4 powerful solutions. E2090 bring together the RPA technology, what we call automate, to automate any mundane repetitive task. So RPA is intended to automate any manual repetitive task with the bot within the bot mimics what a human being does. But how we can deal with any semi-structured, unstructured data? So this can be handled, can be tackled with the IQ-Bot. IQ-Bot technology is a combination of AI, machine learning, computer vision, some predictive algorithm to help customers to convert any semi-structured data, like for example, if you are talking about order to cash, any PO, or any invoice or delivery note that you may receive from your customer or your vendor, and convert those documents into a structured format to feed it into RPA bot. And the right of our platform, you will have the bot insight, because to optimize your business process, you need to measure this process. You need to measure the usage, the automation rate of these digital workflows. So we provide you with the bot insight to measure your ROI. It helps you all not only to get real business insights, but real-time business insight. And of course, help business people to make decisions. And on top of that, we added recently the discovery bot, which help our customer to move faster in the automation journey by providing a tool to help you to determine which process are the best candidate for automation, and also build a draft of the bot to accelerate this bot the delivery phase. And this will dramatically increase your automation journey. And as you can see here, we also have some pre-built bots which are available in our bot store for some later application like SAP in the ERP space, or eBay Milestone, and other application as well. We have also some deep integration with Microsoft Office 365 and Salesforce to empower business people with this ability to launch bots from this existing software. And as you can see in the right of my screen, our platform is the only a truly cloud native platform. It can be deployed purely cloud. All the infrastructure will be hosted by Automation Anywhere. It can be deployed cloud enabled. Some sensitive data will be stored locally, or of course, on-premise in your infrastructure. So whatever the deployment type you will choose, we provide you with the whole platform, including the 4 capability I mentioned before. I mean the RPA, the intelligent artificial touch, and insight and discovery bots. So now let me explain you how Automation Anywhere help you in your hyper automation or intelligent automation, because we go beyond the RPA. We bring you with this intelligent artificial automation, and also we bring you with the major component to bring your automation to life and enhance your chance of scaling dramatically. How? We provide you with the 4 component, which is the capture using the IQ bot or the EA technology, automate using the RPA, analytics to optimize your process, and the process discovery to discover new processes. And by creating this simplified, repeatable process, you will dramatically increase your chance of seeing the value in a shorter time frame. This is what we call the virtuous cycle that unlock value as you scale your digital workforce. Whether you are looking for a faster ROI, or we deliver you with other benefits like reducing costs by reducing human labor when the task. We also speed up things in your process, getting faster. We eliminate potential security compliance by reducing fraud and error rates. And finally, most of our customers get a rapid ROI, typically under a year, because we provide you with a single platform, because we believe that this single end-to-end platform will prevail, because you can start small and grow up, knowing you will never create silos as you did in the past. So now let me explain you the typical automation journey that we see in within our customer. So basically, our customer, massive company, starts with a small scope of processes, between 1 or 2 processes. And then after 1-2 months of experimentation, they can move to the next phase of automation when they can expand the scope to other business process and scale, adding some additional function with finance, for example, department or the front office. And after this, we can start automating end-to-end process by combining the different components of our technology that we bring in our automation platform. And then during this phase, most of our customers will create this center of excellence to accompany this business function in the automation journey. So this is all for me. I will hand over to my colleague Christophe Leglon, will be provide you with deep dive in the order to cash business process. Thanks.
Thank you, Bouraïda. I hope everyone can see my screen now. So in the order to cash, we have many challenges, like in fact in other area of the processes into a company. Here you can see a different situation to target a good candidate on some processes in IT to add automation because you are faced to challenges. Here, for example, the first one is eclectic sources. Yeah, in fact, in order to complete a process, you need to grab data from different area, different department, different system. So here you can have data from Excel files or ERP, CRM, different website, etc., or even, you know, open data source or third parties. So in order to grab that data, a bot can really help you to grab that in a single point and manipulate that, apply rules, and maybe complete that to another system into your company. Also, you have issues with data quality. Because many people, you know, complete some pages or some entries and doesn't follow rules, or you have mismatch data between, you know, a PDF or many sources of information, or also for third party. For example, open data is, you know, a huge database coming from different sources without the same rules. For example, aggregation. So maybe you have to check, you know, different field in order to be able to be applied to your system. So you have also can be have help from bots in order to put rules and check the data before to manipulate them and include that in your processes. Also for critical processes, if you have a high risk or you need to speed up, because you mentioned earlier in that presentation that speed and time is very a focus for you, and to have, you know, a good customer experience, and if you want to customer come back to you and be surprised by your, you know, time you can answer and proceed to your internal process is very valuable for you. And you can avoid delay to deliver, you can avoid delay in many different processes in your company. Also the ROI pressure, yeah, because you can have a high volume, for example, of data to proceed, and a human cannot, you know, make it in a timely manner and manage volume, for example, for Black Fridays or end of the month or closure for quarter, etc. So usually you are looking to make it happen in a timely manner. And also, like Bouraïda said before, the collaboration between companies, but collaboration between also departments. because you have a lot of silos and on Shield, piece of software who doing the right job in their side, but there is a big issue to communicate between that silos, between human resources, finance, and so on. So one of the key of automation is to have the ability to make it happen in terms of collaboration and help with the bots to have communication between systems into the same company or between companies and third parties. So that's kind of challenge you can find here in your companies. I'm sure you have ideas and how to complete that kind of issues and challenges, and maybe have ideas to build bots in order to help you in that kind of issues. Here you have an overview of the code to cash life cycle. There is a big, milestones in the process in order to achieve that. So in that different steps, you have different people working on that. You have data are passing from a stage to another one. And on top of that, you have also customer data management, you have the reporting, and you have the process and audit, because now you really need to have this kind of functionality to follow the rules and requirements for government and etc. So here in each of these stages, you have ability to you have probably problems to solve and issue, or some of them have more work to do in terms of speed up the process or add quality on some of these stages. We're going to focus here on some of these processes during a journey of digital journey of order to cash chain. Here you have different steps with low, medium, or high impact of automation. So here, for example, for order management, you can help the sales team in order to divide by half the time to proceed to that sales order without any coaching error, because the idea is to include the rules to code to the bot. And thanks to that, there is no errors, and it can be done in a second to the customers or prospect. Also, you can do the build. You can, deliver without any errors, like I told you, because the rules are coded into the bot, and it's very easy to implement and make it happen in a timely manner. So thanks to that, you can really speed up the customer experience and help the sales team, because usually the code is not very interesting for them. The idea is to take much more time, in the relation with the customers, and delivering the code have to be, automated. So that's a good opportunity here to help a team with this kind of rule-based bot. You can also help the team to consolidate the master data and to into the CRM, for example, in order to have the right data at the right moment for the different teams, for administration, for all the teams working around that master data. You can ask, because usually the sales people or admin doesn't, complete all the files or the data into, an accounting, into a customers, etc. So using this kind of bot can remind people into the team, or can go to third parties to complete data. to be able to do the bill, etc. So that's very easy also to use a bot to complete this kind of informations and to secure and to be sure that it's up to date. And maybe at the end, for example, you can send an email to the customer to check if everything is correct. And like that, you have a double, from the source or for the person concerned at least, to be sure that everything is correct, to go smoothly, to have the right address, to not, bill or to not send the goods to a different address, and losing time and money on that. Another one, for example, is credit limit management. Here you can, go to a third party like COFAS to check the ability to the customer to pay, for example, and to have to check the rating of that company, and apply some rules or apply some attention to that customer, and why not to limit the amount of goods or services you're going to sell to that customers, because they are not reliable, or you have to be careful because they doesn't have a good rating to that rating company as COFAS. Okay, so you can really imagine a lot of processes who can be done by robots. It can be based on rules, but like you also mentioned at the beginning, like intelligence, can be also included into that bots. Buraida spoke about Watson, for example, but you can, thanks to API, request, help from artificial intelligence from outside, from a third party, without any issue here with automation anywhere. Here I'm going to show you a video about an example we done before. So here we're using a solution IQBot. The IQBot has the ability to read informations on PDF files, for example. There is a lot of machine learning included in IQBot in order to make it easy for anyone who doesn't need a scientist to do that. So the RPA, classical one, and IQBot is going to download a file included into an email, okay, automatically, coming from vendor. So you're going to a customer, sorry, is going to read what the customer wants, okay, and is going at the end read it directly from the PDF in the email, and then is going to create a purchase order into SAP, okay, without any human intervention. It's going to be very automatic. So you can imagine here there is no one who's going to read the mail and complete into SAP what's happening into the PDF. And also in the middle, you're going to add someone at least who's going to approve that purchase order into the ERP. So you will receive here the code, you download the code, IQBot is going to read it, extract it, okay? Then going to manage the exceptions. The bot is going to log into SAP and create the purchase order, okay? And then the manager is going to approve the PO or not. At least human have to check that for different reasons. Can be, rules into the company. So here, as you see, we are checking that everything is okay in the mailbox, okay? And then here the bot, we're running the bot and the bot's going to read himself the and copy that into a folder. So you can see here the different PDF into a folder. The bot is going to read it and create structured data. That's it. And then the bot is going to use this structured data and go to SAP. But first of all, there is a human who's going to see that orders are pending. And is going to approve to go to the next stage. So you have the details of the order. And all that into a simple, you know, assistant on your computer. You can complete some informations if needed, because there is some rules and maybe some things can be missing. And to not have this kind of errors, you can have a human looking for that if the bot cannot do that, or intelligence. And then you can see the bot do the work, you know, into SAP without here any human intervention. So there is no copy paste, etc. So all the information are in the bot. So it's very easy for the bot to use that information and complete and do some rules or data manipulation in order to be able to send that to SAP. Okay, using the interface. So there is no add-on to put into SAP. Here is just an idea how the IQ bot is configured. So you can see we are using it's a very simple interface in order to recognize the different field. And there is a lot of machine learning here. Once you're done for one invoice, for example, or quote, it's very easy for these solutions to read other quote or other invoices without any additional learning stuff or coding stuff. So here, that's very efficient to utilize, you know, human resources in, you know, not boring stuff like you also mentioned at the beginning, you know, in the survey, to a lot of repeating, you know, manipulations and speed up the process. So it's very efficient to put here a bot in that case, for example. It's accelerate procure to pay process. It's compressing the time in that in this kind of very straightforward process and without, you know, human value here. We put human when it's necessary, okay, with thanks to rules, or when there is some approval, or there is some, you know, check to do following, you know, rules like amount, like, you know, kind of customers or vendors, etc. And it's reduced drastically, you know, human resources. Errors is also part of speed up, you know, a process, because errors is you have to come back to some systems to modify, etc. So it's very time consuming and very bad time to consume here because of errors. It's not, you know, just times to put in order the process, but you have to come back, and it's very, you know, frustrating to check and to modify for errors. So that's it here for the demo and introduction to our solutions. I let Buraida to continue with that.
Thank you, Christophe.
You're welcome.
here we have some of, sorry, I need to share my screen, no problem. Here you have some of our customer and order to cash. We have more than 100 customer in the order to cash business automation. Today, I will share with you some feedback of their customer. Of course, you can go to our website and you can get access to the live testimonial of these customers. So one of them is Sanofi. Sanofi, they were facing many challenges to optimize the sales order process for some what we call urgent medicine to ship in this healthcare to professional hospital. And for some of them, the shipment should be done in less than 1 day. So they have a challenge to get this product shipped quickly. And also they have another challenge and more focus in the intercompany sales invoicing. So by implementing Automation Anywhere more than 2 years ago, they automate all the back office operational tasks. One of them is the order intake process. And using Automation Anywhere platform, they improve the data quality and, of course, the shipment of this kind of medicine by 80%. Of course, they have their client, hospital, more satisfied, and also they save some lives for somehow. And in terms of ROI, they saved millions of labor implementing Automation Anywhere, not only for the sales order processing, but all the back office process. ArcelorMittal is one of our Automation Anywhere customer. They had some challenge about the standardizing of the financial business processes, including procure to pay, order to cash, and record to report, and also accelerate the integration of a new acquired company after merger or acquisition of a new company. So using Automation Anywhere platform, they succeed to automate all the back office activity. First of all, they start with the sales order creation as well, using the combination of the RPA and the AA technology for Automation Anywhere. Also, they use Automation Anywhere for the financial consolidation and reporting and other financial transaction, which allow them to accelerate the book closing by 50%. You can also access to the testimonial of the ArcelorMittal available in our website. Last one in the banking sector, Santander, one of the huge bank, one of the leader in worldwide. They use it not for the order to cash, but for some back office and front office business processes. The challenge was to optimize the process of the front office, especially, and supporting the business growth. So using Automation Anywhere platform, they can reduce the provisioning cost by 9 million, which is amazing. And the response time of their customer, it has been reduced by almost 60%. The use cases including customer-facing activity, and of course, financial transaction for the book closing and consolidation and reporting. And they get ROI in first year, or $1 invest, they get $1.3, which is really amazing. That's all for me. I hand over to Jaris for the presentation of Flink and the use cases.
Yes, thank you, Braida. So that was a lot of content. Now to get a little bit of interaction going again, I'm going to refer back to the Mentimeter app. So if you could pick that up again, pick your phone again, and if you have left the Mentimeter, go back to the code, then 55, 70, which you can see at the top of your screen. And then we come to the next question, which is an agree or disagree question with regards to mostly the nature of processes in your firm, as well as the digital maturity in your firm. So processes in our organization are efficient, strongly disagree to strongly agree. We are a digitally mature organization, so are you still using a lot of paperwork to do your processes, or do you feel that a lot is already done through digital documentation? And also an interesting one, technology is an enabler in our firm, not a blocker. Or another way to phrase this is, like people say, we work for technology, technology doesn't work for us. So if people feel like they are often slowed down by technology because they have to fill in a lot of things before they can actually move on, that's when you feel like technology is a blocker. For me, for instance, as a business development manager, some of my colleagues will confirm this, if we have to continuously use Salesforce the entire time we get leads and opportunities, we feel a bit like technology is a blocker, not an enabler, because it's a very lengthy process. But of course, it's part of the process of sales. So interesting to see here that even though people are more on the agree side that technology is working efficiently or processes are efficient, you can still see that a lot of people feel that their organization is not digitally mature. So still a lot of paper going on. What you can also see, for instance, in the first question, processes in our organization are efficient. It's nice in the middle, but when you can look at the graph, I think most people answered actually that either processes are efficient or processes are not efficient. So a lot of diversity in answers here. Okay, thank you for answering the questions. I'll move on to the next question. There we go. So this is more towards RPA, or you can also interpret it as automation. Where is RPA or where is automation on your IT roadmap? Are you working on it right now? Is it something for the near future, let's say this year or in a couple of months? Is it distant future? Like typically we will hear people say like, oh, we have a big ERP implementation project going on, or an integration project, so we can't focus on RPA right now. So it will be probably somewhere in the next big IT project, or is it not a priority at this moment? So not a lot of people, of course, in the working on it right now category. Maybe here to see if they can work on it in the future, of course. Okay, it's good to see that the near future is there, also distant future, but distant future is also, of course, something that we see a lot. I often hear the fact that people are saying, oh, we're working on an ERP integration, we're going to the cloud, things like that, and then we'll see in the next step if we can do RPA. Okay, next question. Not applicable, applicable. Is RPA applicable in your organization, do you feel like, or is it even applicable in your department? It's interesting to see that there's divergence also in the department parts, certainly because we're with finance people here, and we often feel like finance is one of the first departments that comes to mind with a lot of people for RPA, even though that's not always the case, because certainly we see that the first processor is where we begin. We typically begin with finance to discover processes, but often we end up in departments like customer service or HR. But still, good to see that there's a correlation between RPA within the organization and RPA within my department. So still a lot of people that see potential within finance as well as within the broader organization. Okay, let me see if there's one. Yeah, there's one more question before I start my part. What is blocking you from automating your processes? I put a couple of things that I think are typical things that people say to me. It's we don't know where to begin, as well as other IT projects have priority. I also put too expensive in there, but I don't see it too much. Maybe you can also interpret it as we don't have budgets for it right now. More than too expensive. Not having budget, certainly in these times, is a typical reason. This is also interesting for me because I most often hear that they don't know where to begin, but other IT projects having priority, that's also something that we often see. Okay, interesting. It's good to have this information, but yeah, typically, indeed, you already have an IT pipeline that's filled for the rest of the year, and then RPA is something also where people still need a lot of learning going on. There's still a lot of hype around RPA, but not a lot of practical feeling like, okay, how can we actually implement this? And if there's no practical use cases or people don't know the practical use cases, they will typically put it further down the line in the pipeline. Okay, moving on from the Mentimeter questions, there's a couple more at the end, but we will go towards the presentation again now. There we go. Let me share my screen. So in introducing Flink Automation, I find it interesting to first look at our clients before going into the details of when we were originated and so on. Having an outside in look is always interesting just to see like what's on our clients' minds. Because often when we talk about RPA with our clients, it's not a question of, we want to automate because return on investment or because faster, the typical things that you hear. It's always, of course, in there, but it's not a key thing that we hear. Often it's indeed the fact that people want value-added work for their employees by having them do challenging tasks, look at exceptions, do value-added work, which also has to do with this war on talent. That's a key challenge for our clients. Having jobs that are interesting for your employees is something that you can achieve through automation by taking the repetitive parts away from them, by enabling them, and by enabling them because of IT. An interesting one is also the third one. How do I tackle an increase in demand in my products while managing people working from home? It's not evident, but it's really, yeah, it's a sign of the times. Right now, at this moment, you have to have your core processes working continuously while still enabling people to work from home, even in team environments. And using RPA to coordinate all this work really helps people out a lot. And of course, a last one, core admin processes are outdated. Certainly, if you see that to the question I asked, are you a digitally mature organization? Achieving this maturity through, on the one side, automation, but also on the other side, using tools like scanning tools to digitalize your input, your data input, really fast tracks automating your core processes and updating them to the new ways of working. So briefly moving on to who we are and what we do. So Flink Automation, we are, as well as Ufinity, who orchestrated the webinar, we are part of the Kronos Group. And within the Kronos Group, we see ourselves as an end-to-end automation partner for our clients by using our own expertise within RPA, within automation, as well as the expertise of our partners. So we work together with Dynatos and Optimize, two of our partners, to achieve an end-to-end automation track for our clients. We really do this. We want to start at the beginning where we give advice with regards to automating or not automating, optimizing your processes, getting input in a digital way before you're going to automation. all the way to the end, to the change management part, to setting up a center of excellence with regards to RPA, so you can scale your solution. Throughout this entire project, we want to be in the lead and we want to help our clients. Which brings me, of course, to our core values. We really want to give our clients pragmatic advice because we feel like RPA needs a lot of advice. Certainly around where you start, how you scale, who to include in your organization, who takes the lead in this project. There's a lot of questions that need answering before starting an automation journey. Picking the right solution, of course, also key. RPA is an interesting solution, but it's not a catch-all solution. We don't want to fix what's not broken, but we also we don't want RPA to fix something that's broken all the way to the core. So optimizing your processes instead of automating something that's not functional to begin with is something where we look at. We advise our clients always to optimize processes, optimize them for automation. We look at intelligent process automation. Is it advised to use things like chatbots to automate the data input? Maybe use smart capture tools, as Christophe already mentioned with the IQ bot. Having unstructured data captured is really something that requires AI, something that requires a process or a tool to learn about how the data is unstructured and how it can be used for an RPA solution. Basically, a lot of these AI tools are, well, in Dutch you say trechters, they are filters for the data to come into the RPA solution. Once the data is filtered and is properly structured, that's when automation can start through RPA. And that's where typically a lot of these intelligent tools come in. Also, on the other side, basically you can see the input side intelligence, then the processing part is RPA, and the output part can also be intelligence. Things like next best actions based on data from the past, providing solutions for the future is also something that's typically done by artificial intelligence solutions. Last but not least, forming a guiding partner, being there to help with the transition of using automation as a tool for your organization. It's key to have, to build in-house capabilities, to have the people on board with automation, and also to give people ownership on this tool. It's a lot of hard work to implement something if people are not on board with the solution. So giving people ownership around RPA, having them in control of the solution really helps this change project, I feel like, at least. So bringing us to the lessons learned. I actually here, if you can see it on the next slide, this is a slide presented by one of our clients in an event that we did a year ago. So I think this is very interesting to show because it actually shows what our clients learn with regards to RPA when they are on the journey. And I can relate to this. The next slide shows us our lessons learned, and a lot actually coincides with what you can see on this slide. But yeah, understanding what robotics is for our client, it was really important, of course, because it's your employees that give you the cases. Without your employees providing you processes for automation, you're not going to scale. You're going to have a solution where you maybe had a business case at the start, but you're not going to fully utilize your automation tool. So having people understand what robotics is really helps you with scaling in the least. On top of that, of course, having people understand what robotics is can also help you filter out the wrong process for automation. Really can help you also maybe find processes that are wasteful processes that are not needed in the organization, that just waste time. It's very important to have your employees on board with this automation track. It's also as part of point 4 that you can see here, get management support and business enthusiasm. And point 5, get IT involved from the beginning. You really need this holistic view with regards to RPA. You need to integrate it in your complete organization. to have a complete success story. If your management is on board, if your business is on board to provide you with the cases, your management is on board to provide you with the support in terms of budget, and your IT is on board to provide you with the tools to enable automation, so that they can limit the blockers that come along the way, then you can really have a good solution that helps and that scales increasingly faster and faster. Of course, it's a compliment for us that they choose a partner that fits your organization. But yeah, it's important, again, I reiterate on this, to not just have a software implementer do the RPA, but really have a partner that works side by side with you. Because otherwise, the slide that Boraida showed with 30 days for one process, this will also happen if you don't have a partner in your RPA journey. If you have interaction that's slow, that's not proactive, where the one implementing your solution all of a sudden comes through an IT blocker, maybe some software that doesn't work, and then you have to get IT involved because you weren't thinking of this in the past, you really slow down this process, and you see that the benefits of RPA are just decreasing and decreasing. So having a partner that's proactively pushing your business, your management, your IT is key for automation. And then it says you choose the right tool. Of course, I have to be careful here because we have our friends of Automation Anywhere here, but no, I'm just kidding. The right tool for me, honestly, in my own experience, is a tool that enables your people, because it's a business and IT project, and because a lot of our clients want the employees to work with the automation software actively. I think the key thing is just a tool that fits your company. If Automation Anywhere is the right tool for you because you like working with it, because your people like working with it, then you pick Automation Anywhere. It's that easy. I mean, if Automation Anywhere sees that something is lacking in the solution, you can be certain of it that in a couple of weeks' time, they covered it, that let's say that some functionality in some software program is not there, just give them some time and it's already there, it's already implemented. That's not a worry. The key thing is that people have to have a good feeling with the software, which is of course why software providers like Automation Anywhere provide community access to their tools so that people can already start working on it without even having to pay for a license, for instance. It's getting this touch with the software that's important. Lessons learned by us. I put it here again. It's the same as what you saw on the previous slide. Tech initiative as well as a business initiative. Basically what we see is that IT helps the business keep its feet on the ground, and business basically challenges and pushes IT. Because the business are the dreamers, I would say. They want to automate anything, everything. But IT is there to also help us and help you realize what the limits are of the software that's currently running, or how to work around these limits. If you include IT at the start, you will see a lot faster, a lot more efficient implementation time in your solution. And also it also has to do with the engagement model, as you can see here. If your entire entity, if your entire company is on board with automation, you will see a lot faster automation. If your IT department is there and knows about RPA, about a project in RPA in finance, for instance, and they talk with someone from HR and they see that there's an RPA opportunity there, you can bet on it that IT is also going to propose to HR, hey, we have this tool called RPA. It's also a fit for your question. Maybe you should look into it. This all has to do with having everyone on board with the solution. And last of all, of course, providing a holistic view on the solution. So not only looking at it from a business perspective, but also looking at it from an IT perspective. The other ones are more focused on our lessons learned compared to general lessons learned. A big one for us is help us understand your processes. The other part of it is let your people understand automation. but it's important that you help your partner understand your processes, because honestly, it's not obvious. In Dutch, we have the word for it, beroepsmisvorming. There's not an English equivalent for it, but having been accustomed to your job for such a long time that processes seem obvious or even seem optimal causes you to have a disconnect with what RPA can do for your process. And also thinking, oh yeah, I can just provide a general outline of the process is also not sufficient. Having to implement an RPA project, and I'm sure my business analysts within our firm agree with me, you really have to see every single step of the process so that we can clearly see up front, like, oof, this is going to be an issue. This is clearly better handled by humans, or this is better optimized. This is not suited for automation. And of course, key there, and that's also key for us, is dare to challenge. We are there to challenge processes, because often people have made up their mind up front, like, I want to automate this process. And it's very hard to challenge them, to tell them, this is not a suited candidate for automation. But it's something that you have to do, because if you don't do this and you start automating and the results are lackluster, then you're not creating a happy customer. So that's why it's important to dare to challenge your customer. The third point, which also is something I will reiterate on the next part of my presentation, is getting the execution right. And getting the execution right starts with the start. First impressions matter, certainly for RPA. Your business case, your first pilot has to enable RPA to scale. If you don't start off on the right foot, you will not create this engagement model, what you're looking for when you start with RPA. So how to start? That's a big question. It's one that I will tackle on the next part of my presentation. Having a good framework is important, because if you want RPA to scale, you need a framework in place that fits the entire organization. So that you don't create this attitude of haphazardly just automating all willy-nilly in the entire organization, but using this framework to automate in a correct and structured way, with also a network, of people that work together to the same solution. If you have people that are on top of it, that if you have management that coordinates RPA, you have a correct framework, and you have scalable units, scalable parts of a solution that you can also implement in other parts of your organization. And don't reinvent the wheel. What we mean here is it's not optimal to automate processes that need optimization. So it's, you always have to look at a process bare bones and see if it's a good fit for RPA, or if the problem is a good fit for RPA, but the problem can be solved if you optimize your process in a better way. It also comes back to the point where we say that advice is always key before you start implementing. And a last point, of course, as our client said in the previous slide, robots or automation is about people. It really is. You have to manage change in the organization. And we as a partner have to help people adapt. You have to manage expectations so that they know upfront what they are receiving when they are automating something, so that they don't have this dreamy vision of it can solve all my issues. You have to clearly upfront tell them what it can and cannot do. And of course, you have to share knowledge with your client. That's why we do things like demos, where we showcase what we have done. We do step-by-step reviews of the process that has been automated, so that people can clearly see, okay, this is what RPA is, and this is what it can do practically. And if you do that, it will really help people. Often, it really enables RPA. We don't often see like people saying, oh, in that case, I think this is the limit of what RPA can do. Most often we see, oh, this is what RPA can do. Okay, then I have other cases at the ready as well, or this might also be interesting for RPA. Really creating a positive vibe about RPA is important, because again, you need this engagement model. You need people to be ambassadors across departments and in the IT department for RPA to really scale it up to a large solution or a good solution in your company. And then moving on to indeed the part of how to start. So moving on to these from these lessons learned, I can only advise you to pick a partner to support and advise you, because you need someone to challenge you, to give you advice, and to really upfront have a good framework of how to start with RPA. And as you can see in the second part, it has to do with picking the right technologies, the right processes, and especially the right scope. Starting with a good business case that enables RPA, that really gives a lot of visibility to what you did, is key to scale and to have a good pipeline at the ready of processes, so you really can kick off RPA in the right way. And again, reiterating here, but build in-house capabilities. Have your employees know what RPA is, or at least know how they can spot RPA opportunities. This is the basic. And focusing on this change management to have a good feeling about RPA in your organization. So how do you typically start? Because I said it at the start, people don't often see RPA in the organization, or they think that it's possible in their organization or even in the department, as clearly shown by the Mentimeter, but they don't see a practical case for it. And that's how you start, basically with a discovery phase. And that's also how we think you should start in RPA. You should start with discovery, basically doing brainstorm sessions with your department, for instance, with the finance department. You really explain to them hands-on what RPA is, show them practical demos, just like Christophe showed, to really make it tangible. And then at the end, you should have an entire list. And more often than not, we see an entire list of potential candidates for RPA after such a discovery session. It's not often that we go to a discovery session and one of our consultants has to say, okay, there's no potential here. Most of the time there is potential. And then after having this discovery of processes, you move on to prioritizing these processes. And you want to focus on, as you can see here, the quick wins. You want to prioritize processes which form a right case for you through a return on investment analysis and for your employees, by helping them create a better job most often, because typically you want to create this feeling like, this processes which really took up a lot of time for me. And I mean, it was basically the same things, like you had this this feeling, or like it's where people just have it completely the process in their fingers, like they can do all the steps they have to do just without even looking at the screen. These repetitive tasks you want to move away from. You want people to have really challenging jobs, and if they feel like, okay, these processes that took up a lot of time, that were just repetitive, that didn't create value for me, this process is now gone, then you create a quick win for your employee. Together with a return on investment case for management, that's when you create engagement. And these are the processes that we focus on. So not only the ones that have impact for an organization, but also impact for your employees. Because when you start with these processes, then you can really have a head start in RPA and have it scale insanely fast. That's it for my part. Some more questions now. If we go back to Mentimeter, we will also do a bit of a Q&A part through this platform. It really eases people also to ask questions, since it's completely anonymous. We don't have information on anyone asking the questions, so don't let it be a blocker to ask all your questions. We are happy to answer them. Let me just share again the Mentimeter part. There we go. So some end questions for us, because we of course also like to know what you think about the webinar, or what should even improve about the webinar. The next question is, what are your key takeaways from this webinar? So I'll give you some time now to answer the question. This one will take some more time to fill in because you, I think you have, you can do small sentences as well. And I asked for 3 key takeaways. You don't have to fill in 3. If it's only 1, it's only 1. Those are very good takeaways. So the first one is certainly a good one, indeed. Prepare upfront. Having IT buy-in, having management buy-in, having basically organizational buy-in is key for RPA. So yeah, indeed, buy-in from the team. So it should be complete buy-in in an RPA project. It's not really an IT project. It's an IT project. It's an organizational project. It's a business project. Let's see what else I can pick and choose here. Combining technologies, certainly important. RPA is not the catch-all solution because, as I said, it's good at processing. It's good at processing structured processes. But in order to enable that, you need other technologies in the front and in the back to really help RPA be a good solution for your organization. And again, digital maturity is also key for RPA. Without digital maturity, a robot can't handle paper notes or phone calls, for instance. What else do we have here? Process review. I saw something preparation again. Yeah. So indeed, a lot of upfront preparation comes here. Having the right processes, having the right scope, and having a partner help you in finding these processes and analyzing these processes is key. Because it's important to know upfront what you're getting into with RPA. If you have a partner helping you find the return on investment, find the right solution, find process that will make your employees happy, it's a great way to kickstart RPA. Okay, moving on from this one is one that will help us a lot in the future and will help us become better. What content do you feel was missing? So again, it's completely anonymous. Feel free to be critical here because it will only help us in the future make better webinars for you. Or if there's a topic that you would like to know more about, feel free to also post it here. Like, let's say you have a topic about account payable digitalization, or about sales order, about credit notes. If there's other use cases that you want to see in the future, put it here as well, because then we will think about that as a next topic, maybe for a webinar. Data protection, indeed, very important with RPA. I think we can also answer at least the colleagues from Automation Anywhere can talk a bit about this in the Q&A because of course a lot goes into protecting data, certainly data in rest as well as data in motion. But of course the RPA vendors are really well prepared for this. Given that the foothold that RPA had within the business world started with banks, and banks of course ask for very detailed data protection. So with regards to the potential for finance, to already give maybe a brief answer, I think at least that there's a lot of potential for finance, certainly because there's so much repetitive tasks within finance, but a lot of potential for finance, if I have to be critical, starts with digitalizing, because the first step is always having digital data available. And certainly in finance, we see that a lot of the time data is either not digital or either not structured. And with structured, we mean that it's always in the same format. Even if it's digital, it can always be unstructured a lot of the time. So having data in a structured way and in a digital format, that's when you can really enable the potential for finance. But if that's still lacking, then that's the first step you have to take in the digitalization journey that your organization is going through.
Joris, yeah,
Okay.
maybe just to add something about security and compliance.
Go ahead.
Just to make you confident, we are compliant with GDPR. We have also some certification, VERICOD, and TLC for data in motion, etc. We can go in depth in this topic if you are concerned about security compliance. So yeah, feel free to contact Flink teams, and we can organize a dedicated session about this if needed.
Yes.
But make sure that we have the high-level certification about security and compliance, as Joris mentioned, because we are working also with banks, which are very concerned about the security stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so thank you for the answers, everyone. It's good to see a lot of topics here. So I think most important for us to take away here is that we that people really like to see practical cases such as intercompany invoicing, source to pay, finance reporting, transfer pricing. These are all practical use cases. So we will think about maybe having a next session or a next webinar dedicated to processes across the board in finance. So thank you for this. And that leads me to the last part of the session, and we will also do it through Mentimeter, which is Q&A. So normally, it's the first time I do it through Mentimeter, but normally now you can just ask questions here and they will pop up on the screen, again, completely anonymous, and we can answer them. Again, Baraida or Christophe, if you want to answer any of the questions that pop up, feel free to do so. Feel free to interrupt me.
No question? That means
it takes some time. It's through the cell phone, so people have to type out.
Oh, maybe it was crystal clear. This is why there is no question.
That's also a potential. Okay, first question: how can I start with discovering the potential? So as I mentioned in the slides, how we typically start is, well, I will do it from my side, or at least when we provide services, and also when you want to start with it on your own. So when we do it through these discovery sessions. Basically, we have a business analyst or one of our team leads come over and do a brainstorm session. It's typically per department because you really want to focus the discussion around the department with like-minded people, with people that come across the same processes. So you can really have a deep dive in the department. So we do it one for finance, one for HR, one for procurement. You can do it across departments, but it's more difficult to manage. And it's also, I think it helps with end-to-end processes, but again, it makes it more difficult to manage. We typically do it with no expectations whatsoever from the people that start the session, because when you have your employees up front already learn about automation or learn about RPA, you will typically see that the first attitude they have is, it can't do that, or yeah, but. So if they study automation, they will think, okay, this is not a good process because it can't do this and this and this. So people are quick to dismiss potential candidates. If they start with a clear mindset, with no upfront information about RPA, we can introduce them into RPA. We can show them use cases. We can make it very practical. And then have a brainstorm session and really push them to think about parts of processes, sub-processes, or think outside of the box. and help them think about automation. That's when we do it. Otherwise, if you want to start, it's always good to make just an inventory of processes. Just ask your employees, what are key processes, key repetitive processes that you do on a daily basis, and can you put it in a workflow, huh? Making it visual, having people put a cube like, okay, step 1, I open my mail. Step 2, I check if this and this is in order. If you ask them to make a kind of manual for a process, it will help a lot in discovering the processes. How I typically like to say it to prospects or clients is just imagine, or at least to employees that do the processes, just imagine that you have a summer intern that will work in your department for the summer. And then you want to obviously give him all the processes that you don't want to do yourself. You can create a manual up front in Word, like, okay, if you see this, you do that. Otherwise, you do this. If this comes up, you have to ask me. That's an exception, maybe. If people can create these kinds of manuals for a process, then typically you know that you have a good RPA candidate. Those are some tips and tricks to start discovering yourself. And otherwise, again, we are happy to facilitate any discovery sessions.
And of course, yeah, we have deployed different automation and RPA solution in different contexts for different customer. So we know which are the best candidate for automation. And yeah, as Joris mentioned previously, the focus in the first stage of the automation journey will be the quick win. So we can advise you which use case must be automated first to get good ROI and good benefit in the first stage of your automation journey.
And also try to dig in an interactive way, because I've had clients say, or I've had employees say, yeah, we can't automate this process because the input side of the process requires human interaction. Like people phone me to give me details, people do it by mail through all kinds of sources. But that's when people will be quick to dismiss RPA because data is unstructured, so it can't be done by RPA. But if you just challenge them and say like, okay, so you just handle the input side, and then you are basically, the employee is basically the filter, which puts it in a structured way, puts all the information in a structured format, puts it at the ready for the robot, and then the robot can take over the rest of the process. So instead of having this mentality of it can't be done by RPA, because one of the steps can't be done by RPA, you have to break the process down in several steps and then see, okay, if we do sub-step 2, 3, and 5, we can still create a lot of potential with RPA. And the other parts are then done by the human. Any other questions through the Q&A? I also see that we are already past our deadline. Okay, so I think it's best if we stop here. Sorry for going over time, but thanks a lot to everyone who joined this webinar. It's very interesting also to see the interaction through the Mentimeter. We will be happy to use it in the future. And we will, of course, also use your inputs to maybe look into new webinars that focus on other cases within finance. So that's it from our side. Thank you for joining. Thank you for the messages on the Q&A. And if there's any further questions in the future, I think Ufinity will share the presentation and also share our contact details. So reach out to us and we will be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you for joining us today. And yeah, feel free to reach out to Flink team and we'll be happy to provide you with a customized demo presentation if needed. Have a good day.
All right.
Thank
Have
you.
a good day.